we can now continue from where we left off. We are going to create Redshift proxies of our render elements here. That will be the buildings, rigid body sims, the glass sims, the volume and the dust, and environment geometry. So let's start by dropping another TOPS network. I'm keeping this one separate here. I mean, we can probably put this in here too, but it's just for organizational reasons. I think it's a bit more, separated. I think it's a bit more, it makes more sense. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Let's name it RS proxy bakes. Okay, if we go inside, so let's count what we need to bake. We need to bake animated line render. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 nodes. So let's dive inside. I think it's 10 or 8, I don't know, but we'll go. So there is no direct bake node, so we need to do a rope fetch instead. Okay, so we need, like, how many of them? We said 9 or 10 of them, right? So let's maybe it will be easier if I go here, lock this guy here, this one lock here, and create and rename them as we need them. So there is the landscape RBDRS. So I'm just going to copy paste these names from the my other scene. So then we're going to need a landscape Redshift as well. So this one, okay, so maybe like this. This is 1, this is 2. We're gonna need to have the building RBDRS. We're gonna need to have building glass RBD, or we can say glass RBDRS. RS is in the shift. We're gonna need to have building dust. Let's copy paste this guy. We're gonna need to have building dust RBD. No, building dust. This is PTC, and we're gonna have, so this is landscape, right? The landscape goes here. We will need to have building volume RBD. Sorry, building volume, or maybe we can say something like the building RBD dust, RBD dust, building RBD volume. Okay, what else do we have? We're gonna have volumes land. Okay, we're gonna have landscape volume. Oh, these ones don't have building dust. Let's call it, sorry, let's call it like this, I think. RBD, sorry, RS, and building wall RS. Okay, what else do we have? Again, we have the landscape volume, we have the landscape dust, and we name them landscape dust RS. Okay, I think that's 1, that's 4 here, that's 8. I feel like we should have some more stuff. Debris, we're gonna deal with that later. Oh, we have this broken up fog as well, so it's that will be Atmos. Just copy paste the name, maybe fog broken volume RS. So that's the Atmos. I think that's it. I can't really recall at this stage, at least, anymore. All right, so this means we're gonna need to create these many Redshift proxies. So if I start with 1, let's start with the landscape, maybe. Okay, so this guy here, I'm gonna pin this. most of these will follow the same logic, so we'll continue. So there's a few things I adjusted and they work really good. If you don't have it, please install the Side Effects Labs. I think you can install it from the Windows here. It shows up like this, and then you can select what you want, which one you want to install. So I am at 633. I think I have the 672, but it works in here. So if I go to scene view, so there's a few things I noticed, and these tools are actually working, and I'm going to do this here now. So if we load in our null one from the hero land, let it cook, you'll see that our normals are hard normals, right? So we need to adjust that. And if I go to smooth shaded, we have some broken edges here and there. So these normals are not really well done, and we have these interior faces because we're going to bake these as RS. We're trying to optimize as much as possible. Okay, this space size, things going to the GPU memory. So there's a node called destruction cleanup. So if you're curious what it does, I'm not going to explain it. Basically loops through meshes and then checks through names, so on and so forth. It's like I don't actually also know what it does, but it does a good job. So we're gonna plug that under here. Okay, for the current size, let it do its thing. Okay, I'm going to. So we're going to remove insides, and this value is fine, and we just want to cusp the polygons as well. Okay, 60 by 60, and I think that is it actually. Okay, so if I now load this back in as smooth, here maybe. Okay, now if I look inside, and now I have this clean geo. So basically if I go here, 182 pack, I guess I can do a little test like this. If I did that, this would be 2.3 million polygons, but now it's 600,000. So it's quite a good save because we never see what's inside here anyway. But the rest goes the same. We go unpack, rest, some cleanup, and we pack again. Okay, and so what happens now is that because we change the grouping and our left and right groups are now broken because they were hand selected, we just have to do that again. And I'll just go here. This is my right side, I believe. Let me see, this won't work probably now. Yeah, this is all garbled because it was a hand selection. So now I'm looking top to bottom. I'm just gonna select it like this. I can really use like bounding boxes too, but it's like I don't know. At this moment, I don't think it really matters. It's just two pieces. We don't have to make everything super procedural, right? So let's enter those values here. Okay, now let's do the left grouping. Tab, group on the viewport, get the base group point numbers, and this is going to be left, I think. And now I can delete these as long as they move in the right direction. We're good. So they should be opening up. They're opening up. We're good. All right, cool. So now to make the RS proxy, we get our last guy here. I'm going to unpack this. Okay. I'm going to put a clean sub. Actually, we don't need a clean sub. I think it's pretty clean. I'm going to put an attribute delete. Okay, we want the rest. We want the UVs. I don't need any of these. These are coming from the new guy. I don't even need the name, and I don't need the var map. And I group. I have groups, so I just want to keep inside and outside. Group delete. So that will be everything except inside and outside. Okay. So that's like ready to go. Now I'm gonna drop in a Redshift proxy output. I'm gonna put another null here. I'll say rs in, or let's call it 2rs, maybe rsp, Redshift proxy. Okay, and now in here the settings goes like this. We'll click on the archive. Sub path will be our last guy, and our path will be this. You can change it if you like. So here's the thing, if you have a shader and if you're not using attributes but you think to use attributes, and if they're not plugged in at this moment, and if you have this turned on, those attributes will disappear. Like right now I'm not using rest, and if I export this out like this, that will disappear. But I already optimized my unused attributes to as I wish. Then I'm going to turn this off. Okay, here's the other thing. If you are going to apply displacement, you need to keep export connectivity data exported, otherwise faces will separate from each other. Okay, and the rest can stay as is. So now what I need to do is I would like to give this a name. This will be rsland. Frame range is not important here because we'll be driven by the PDG. Now let's copy these 4 guys and basically move it down to, I'm gonna put this on manual. We can, let's hide this as well. We don't need to see all of this at the moment. We want this to be as quick, as responsive as possible. All right, so then we're gonna do the same thing with animated land render, which is coming from here. So at this stage we should be loading everything just to make sure we are. Okay, we're good. So let's paste it here as well, and we're just gonna do the same thing basically. Just let it cook. Okay, we're good here. I wonder if the inside faces trick will work here also. I would like to try that. Labs restriction cleanup, because I didn't, so I want to do it now. CASP simulation range is going to tell us what's happening basically. Come here, let's see. I'm not really trusting this, but it kind of gives a better result, to be honest, on these faces especially. Those edges are kind of broken. Okay, let's try. It's the same setting, so this is not so fast. Okay, let me pause it and I'll come back once this is done. But this, I think, has to do this each frame. That may be a problem. Oh, we don't need to do this here. My bad. We can do it right here. That's why we are transforming pieces. Right here, right? This should do the trick. I guess we'll see. Because here it's not moving. But let's see if it's going to remove pieces where we see the inside faces of the pieces. Maybe that's why it does the loop, to see what moves, what doesn't. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, this will probably work. Okay, this is finished. Let's have a look here. These are, sorry, these again, it packs, so we need to unpack. Unpack again, so unpack, it kind of packs everything all together. So then I unpack it here, but I already have the names. Then I can pack it back. I wonder if there's an option here that doesn't do it. Pieces name, generate name. I don't want that, but maybe okay. Let's pack it back with name, and we do need name to be promoted because we are doing transform pieces. Okay, so at this stage now, 42,000, 45,000, some cleanup for the invisible inside faces. If you go here, this should be good, and it is, and probably empty here. Well, not much, but there's some cleanup regardless. Hence the lesser amount of maybe some stuff here. Okay, well, it certainly is a bit better. And then we go here. Let's name this RBD land. It removed actually too many polygons, so we may not want to do that. Okay, now I see it. It's blue. I'm not sure if I want it. Okay, let's not optimize it that much for this guy. Okay. All right. This is okay now. This is here. The path is driven by the name anyhow. Let's continue. Okay. The next thing will be actually, you know what? Let's do it through here because it's easier to follow. So this one, let's pin it. It was in terrain. Oh, sorry, this one. So then the because it's a fetch, so the rope is this guy, right? Because there's no PDG version of this, so we're fetching this to inside to PDG. As far as I know, you cannot launch more than certain amount of redshifts bound to one CPU, one system. So you can set these to run like in the PDG as well. Like you can block these to one machine, I think. So here, all frames in one batch should be on if you're gonna run a few of these side by side. So I'm going to color this to say that I already linked this. Alright, so this part is not very interesting, but we have to do it. So then let's color this again. This one is still empty. Let's link it in. We got this one from terrain RBD. Here is the fetch node, all frames, all good. Let's move to the next one. It's building RBD RS. Okay, so this one is gonna need a wedge actually because we have more than one. Let's hook it up. Let's call it wedge RS proxy. So if I bring the parameters, I can turn this on and I'll call this wedge building RS. Okay, integer, but we are testing it on the one, so it's 1 to 1. This is fine. It's an integer, it's good. This was pinned, right? Okay, so let's find basically this wedge value will drive my loop in where I was loading my buildings, which is here. It should be loading on the one now, yes. So this guy here is going to be driven by my wedger. So I'm looping, but I'm actually turning off loop now to launch each loop as a separate task through Houdini, through PDG, right? Do we still have this? Yes, we do. So then I can bring this guy here, do the same thing. Waiting it to cook. The buildings are a bit heavy, so they might take a little while. gonna give this a bit more smarter name. It goes down to my rope path, all frames in one batch. Okay, so we are baking these, but we haven't done any look dev. So that will be another step that we may need to consider at some step. We are doing a very basic level of Redshift look deving here, so I don't go deep in Redshift because this is not a Redshift tutorial, obviously. I'll just explain how to do the overrides on proxies in the render scene, but also we are going to be building our network, I think, at this level. Even in here we can assign the materials just before we move everything, right? Like when there's no dependency, and then that can go inside the proxy. Anyway, let's move forward. So this guy's done. Glass RBD is gonna do the exact same thing. So let's just hop in the glass RBD, render, let it do its thing. Okay, so unpack and all that stuff. Waiting to compute. Okay, we're gonna name this RBD, sorry, RS building glass RBD, and then it goes here. As I said, very repetitive task. Here this guy is quite heavy. Oh, there's some extra attributes I don't want. Let's get rid of those as well. This is good. This is good. This I don't need. I don't need anything here basically because this is just a glass shader. So just get rid of everything. Okay. Now the next thing is, where are we? Let's continue. This was the glass. All right. The glass is gonna use the same method as well. So let's copy the wedge attribute back in the glass geo node, and yes, please. My computer is choking. I have an old CPU now. I need to change it. Okay. Let's continue building dust. So these are particles. Pin it. So this will be needing the wedge as well, but we didn't sim it, but we're gonna now adjust it accordingly. So this can go here as well, and also the building volume actually. So let's first sort this out. Let's go to building dust render. So this was our file path right here, but we're gonna load these as file merge, so we can load everything at the same time. I'm gonna load these as, there's only one, but now I'm gonna change it. Actually, I think I don't need to do that because I can do this. The wedger attribute can drive this guy here. So backtick, paste. Oops, I need to get that attribute name again. Back in here, our wedge RS, copy this name, back in the glass, sorry, dust, backtick, paste, we need the add sign. Okay, that should do the trick. It's already at 0 as well. It should be at 0. Oh, it's not baked, so I need to tell it. So it loads in so I can QC it properly. Please cook, select kill, so the value is generated. I can then go in here. This should now return 0 here. Okay, now let's load this in. Let's paste our nodes. So let me see, these are our points, right? Dusts. Okay, they were saved as VDB. Doing a little cleanup. There's nothing to unpack. Doing a bit more cleanup. I don't need that. Here, what do I have? ID PP scale. Okay, there are 2 groups. I don't need that. I want to keep those 2 groups. I'm going to add an add sub, and I'm going to turn this particle system on. Don't ask me why Renderman was complaining, I think, with this before, so I just kind of got used to it, so I keep it that way. And also it says particle system as you click on it, so it's nicer this way. All right, so let's get this guy renamed. Okay, oops, I made a mistake there. Pin, back, drop this guy, not here. Oh my god. All right, back here, this one, no, this one. Here, pin it back into our dust. Goes here, all frames. And we got a crash. Okay, I wonder what crashed. My other screen crashed? No, our scene here crashed. Okay, it's not dying, so I'm hoping. Let's see. All right. Did you save properly? Did you do that? Yes. Usually when it crashes by itself, it means that it probably recovered fine. Let's see if that's gonna work. Let's go to our temp folder, Houdini temp. Latest and the greatest. Is that the correct time? Yes, it is. I'm gonna put it on manual. Load it in. Okay, it's coming in. All right, it looks about right. Let me save this as let's go to Inferno. Not this order, this order. Let's call this 2. Okay, I don't remember if we successfully dropped this to where we're supposed to drop, so let's have a look. Yes, we did. This is also good. Now the volume, which means we need to dive in here and paste these guys here. Okay, this doesn't need to be. Let me just drop this in advance. Actually, let's give it a name as well. RBD volume. Drop this guy here. Now here's the thing, we need to be a little cautious here. The wedger, because each one of these is gonna have, well, a wedge value when we do the whole building. I mean, we're not gonna do it for this tutorial, but when you guys do it in your own layouts, keep forgetting the attribute name, HBLDGRS. Copy this. Let's go to what we were doing, building volume render. Okay, so again here, add sign, paste, backtick. When we do middle mouse, it's gonna return nothing, because like I said, that attribute is not created yet. So you can go inside, and if you cook this guy in this now attribute will return 0, the variable, right? So then our file node can fetch it properly. So let's save. I'm gonna enable, because the volume, I want to see what's happening, what's coming in. Okay, here's the volume with our fire in it. So what do I want? I want to keep the name, because obviously that's what that's where the fields are stored. So everything but name. I'm removing the material name, I'm removing the CD, and I'm going to remove all of these final attributes as well. There are no groups, we don't need this. Okay, and every one of these, we don't need that. Okay, that's just visualization basically. Oh, something is off here. Okay, this is also done. Moving forward, we have landscape, and these are not done. Why are they colored different? Let's uncolor them to be colored again. So okay, volume, let's do the same thing. There's only one volume landscape. No, there's not one, there's gonna be more than that actually. So we can probably use the same thing. No, because the value is different, right? The buildings were 7, but then the ground was not 7. The ground was a few other amounts. Let's find out from here. Land RBD, this was 5 of them. Okay, so we need to use those guys. Let's go in here. Let's bring this down. Let's copy this guy. And let's copy this wedge land rs. So that's 0 to 5, but we only simulated 1, so let's leave that at 1. And this is applicable for these two guys. That's uniform 1. So that's the particle, that's the volume. Let's do the same thing, that we apply the same thing we did for the volume for the buildings, because in principle it's the same thing. I'm gonna copy these 3 and paste that to volumes land render. I'm going to put a file sub to read only that layer I want to edit. But then we need to change that obviously with the PDG wedge attribute variable. And we're almost there. So this guy goes add sign, paste. Okay, let's load this in just so you know. We need to create the value for the variable, push it. Okay, now it should be reading, and it's not reading. Let's see what's not working. Yes, the $os, the name. So let's put this at 1. Let's put the 0. All right. Then now it's finding it. All good. I'm gonna set this to no, so it doesn't error. It has everything I need at this level. Okay, and it's going to be land volume. I think there's nothing else here, right? This is all correct. Yes. And let's go to the particles for the building. Let's copy this. Let's go to particles for the land. Let's paste it, and let's do the exact same thing for loading them in, like we did here. Copy. Dust land. Okay, let's paste this one again. This is the correct name, so it finds the folder, but since there's another one here, it won't, so just rename. Okay, we got the particles. These are VDB particles, so we need to do the convert VDB points here. So then now regular particles, there's 2 of them, that's fine. Okay, so this will work, and we'll give it a name. RS land dust, I think. Let me make sure that, because things are connected here and there, I want to make sure that they're correct. RS land dust, okay. Well, I think that will be it. Oh, not this one as well, finally. Let's go in fog, broken volume. I think this is already clean enough, so it just needs not this one, just needs a RS proxy output node. Yeah, that should do. Okay. Oh, we didn't link that guy, so let's link that guy as well. And I lost it here. Okay, this one. Let's double check everything is, if everything is in order. Oh, we didn't assign this, we didn't assign this. This is assigned, this is assigned, this needs to be on as well. Let's assign these from their to their fetch attributes. This one is landscape volume. This one goes there, back in here. Landscape dust. Landscape dust is here. RS proxy is here. Okay, and we go now the final guy. Broken one, this we did already. All right, so now if I merge all of these down here, hopefully this should work when I bake this guy. What I want to do is that I want to fetch a single frame. That would be, let's make it 1200. In that case, I'm going to say, because I know that there's a problem when I try to do this, it's not working for me. So I'm going to specify start and end frame as 1200. Okay, let me see. I think we can try. Oh yes, we need to adjust the static one, which is just this one. It's not $F. That's quite important. Okay, let's try 1190. A little bit, I think it was a little better frame. Just this one needs to be, everything else needs to be $F. It's just that this one is static. It is static, okay, because I copied it from the other scene. So let me run this, and we'll generate each one of these single frame caches. So then we can use that frame to build our render scene with the baked Redshift proxies, which is going to save a lot of time for in terms of translation from Houdini to Redshift scene. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so this is finished, and if we go, we should have some files on those folders. This one looks suspicious. This frame number is not matching. Let's have a look. No, I don't want to go there. I want to go to its output node. Okay, let me kill this. Okay, let's put this on manual. Maybe the frames didn't update. Oh, single frame. They're all set to single frame. Good job. Okay, let's set all these to frames in one batch. Also, well, some are set, some are not. All of the frame values are set to 1190. Okay, so that's frame range. I think if I do that and then that should take care of it. No, it didn't. I locked it somehow. This one is delete channel. 1190. Okay, just set everything to 1190 and bake it again. 1190. Oh my god. Okay. 1190. Okay, I think this should do the trick now. Well, this one is static, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm going to do this, delete these nodes results. Actually, these are all like that. So I'm just going to say dirty and cook this node. It's going to dirty and cook the rest, I guess. Just to be sure, that's what I'm going to do. Can I dirty all of these from here? This I don't know. Well, I can certainly do this, I guess. No, I will have to do them manually one by one, really? Oh, I can do this. I suppose if I link everything to here, let me see if this actually works. Well, there's nothing to click here. So don't worry about that. I'm just gonna dirty all of these nodes just to rerun. Okay, maybe delete this node as well. Yeah, I think this should do now. Okay, let me run this again and let's check back once this is done. Actually, while this is cooking, let's maybe start building our render scene. Okay, so it will be, I guess, easier to explain. I guess it will be easier to go through than explaining this one by one, recreating this one by one, to be fair. It's probably easier. So what I have here is that, so let's talk about this. This is a feature I really like. In your layout, maybe actually let's save this as, let's go here, let's save it to Inferno, and let's call this render scene part 3. Okay, so it starts like this. There's a feature in here, I think, edit background images, and you can add images, which is really cool, I think. So you can press this guy, right, and then pick a picture, and you can add a picture. Why is it good? Because in fact you can put your latest versions next to the renders. You know, it's just kind of like makes sense for visibility reasons. And then if you don't want to move it around, and this can be also like this, for example. I saw this actually the other day. You can constrain these guys to nodes, so then you can move them with the nodes, which is, I think, super neat. And then when you're done with it, you can just say, just turn that off. Okay. So what I do is that we have our cameras that we are happy with. This could be one camera, more than one, less than one, it's up to you. All right, and then I have these settings, which I don't have these images anymore, I guess. It's not finding them, where certain objects render as phantom or math. So this is what we will set up as well. So let's go by having a look, for example, how to bring the RS land in here. Okay, so this is already, I'll probably have to switch it to our cached version so we can do a test render, but in fact, I mean, we'll probably just go through this and then I'll probably recreate it. It will probably make more sense on top. So you just drop in a geometry node for each one of the things you would like to render, okay? And in RS land, which we have a proxy for, in the Redshift objects node, there's a proxy section where you need to enable the proxy and then put the proxy path in your scene, which in this case it will be for us hip. They are going under geo, and this one is the RS land. So for us it's RS land again, and it's frame 1190 in this case. We're gonna go to 1190. Our frame range is 1250. In this tutorial I originally did 400 frames for each one of these buildings. 1190. Okay, so these won't render like this unless we tell it to load in the proxy SOP. Okay, so that's a node called Redshift proxy SOP, and this has to be inside, and that has to be the only thing that is inside in this node for this to render. The same thing follows RS land RBD. I'm gonna go to hip geo. So we said RS land, RS RBD land. Okay, 1190. All right. What I have here is for instancing debris to some of those points. So I made two objects, basically a white box that is, how big is this seriously? Let's have a look. 3 meters to 1 meter, 20 centimeters thick, so that's like quite a big log. Then I have another one, just much thicker. You can get these guys, these are just boxes. In a production setting we would have some metal parts, concrete, probably done from previous shows or through photogrammetry, which we would have LODs ideally that we would instance. Basically it's in a shot like this, when a camera is flying through here, you can really sprinkle down realistic instance objects off camera, and that's gonna help the scene to sell so much more. It's something we do very often. So the other thing now we do is the buildings, right? So in this case I had 9 buildings, but in our sim now we have, this is finished by the way, in our sim we had 5 buildings in this current version. Where is it? Change building reg 0 to 6, so 7. I would like to see that folder. 0 to 6, 7. Okay, in that case we do not need, we need 0 to 6, we don't need 789 here, we don't need 789 here. Okay, why is this here? This is not meant to be here, this can be here. Then we do the same thing, basically proxy. I'm gonna go to hip. This is looking for my promotion video files. I have my own disk spaces, so but now we baked all these under the geo, so it's RBD land, no, RS building RBD, yes, 1190. All good. This you of course needs to change to $F4 because right now we're just gonna load one frame. Then we have the volume, which is the same thing. So let's go to ID here. Sorry, this is there another settings? I don't think there's another settings here. We're not overwriting anything. It's picking from scene materials, which are these guys. They're very standard shaders. It's just they're different, mostly different colors. So like shell, I'm not even using the noise to be fair. It's just that shell is a copper. I don't know, floor is plastic, with probably less reflection. Walls are also plastic, just a different color. Very simplistic shaders. Probably though in here they're all white, and this I think works better than what I did. Okay, let's go back to volume. Did we finish doing this? This is loading a shader. This can probably continue loading a shader. So if you're going to update a shader, then the proxy materials needs to be set to from object node, so it will obey to load this guy. Okay, let's go to hip geo. This is now building volume, RBD wall. Okay, these ones we're not gonna render. We'll get here now. Why? Oh, this one. Oh, this was the test one. I was loading all the volumes, and this is going to load all the volumes. I think it's trying to load something. Maybe I didn't delete this cache yet. Okay, close. All right, same follows for the glass. Hip geo rs. Oh, did we not cache the glass? We did, but we didn't change name. Yeah, I see it. It's here. Okay, 1190. That's the one that takes the most space. We have the particles for the buildings. This one I'm gonna put on the side. This one were the furniture, and that didn't work. Like you cannot see. I had furnitures, but you cannot see the furnitures in the simulations at all. Like, it was a bit disappointing, and it takes forever to simulate. I guess it will be in the file, but it was not really useful. Maybe if you stopped on a single frame, it may be a bit more visible, but otherwise it really wasn't useful at all. All right, so let's go to building PRT. Building, these are building particles. Proxy, I don't even think I end up rendering these because smoke was fine, but we have them there anyway. Let's go to hip again, geo. Where are we? RS building dust. Okay. We're on 1190 anyway. So these guys, building dust. So these caches are still alive, surprisingly. This is using the same cache as building PRT. So I'm gonna hard load these guys here. It's not from here. Sorry. This one goes here. This one goes here. This guy. I'm gonna copy this. I'm going to paste this in here. Okay. In my render scene, I have a global offset for frame range, and I was loading each one of these guys with that offset. Okay, but not this one. But some particles. So we're not gonna use this one. It's just that if I want to shift the entire simulation back and forth, it's just a global controller to shift. But like if you're obviously being able to follow this tutorial, but you're kind of like already have the knowledge on how to do that, so I don't think that's necessary to explain. Where were we? We were here. So I bring in these caches. So this is 0 now, right? So we will ideally, probably you would want to do this for each. Oh no, this is the ground sim. I want the building points. placed. Building one is this one. Yes. Let's go here. Let's paste this one now. Let's get rid of these ones. Okay, this is gonna be 0. Okay. We're not doing the time shift. These are already, yes, these are VDB, now they're points. So remember, we make 2 groups. Now we're blasting majority of them and keeping only the debris one. I am creating the particle system, and I'm deleting the orient. I think here is, I'm multiplying the particle scale by 3. We had random scales anyway, and then I'm multiplying by 4. Okay. Then I'm creating random orient, and here is, I'm kind of creating a random orient that is adding up over time. So if you look at what we're doing here, I get the velocity, I measure the velocity, okay, then I get a random value from the ID. It creates like a 0 to 1 random value, right? Then I get the frame that is multiplied by this random value, so it's like adding or removing. And the other thing is that I have the speed as well, that is becoming a multiplier for the amount of frame that is being incremented. Because if it's slow, like if it's 0, which means it's not moving, then it's not kind of rotating at all, so this value defaults to 0, right? And then if it's 1, if it's more than 1, it's clamping to 1, but if it's 1, then the result is this 2 together, which is now my angle that is being added. So then, if I think we can probably visualize it if I turn this on, don't explode, okay, and if I hide this, this should be fine when I press play. All right, so basically they're spinning based on the speed they travel on a random axis. Okay, that's what this is. This is one type of debris, this is the other type of debris, and it's doing the exact same thing here. I think we can do this a bit smarter, so I'm gonna go in here, delete this. No, I can't delete this because we have to swap it here. Let's just load it in, that makes no difference. Okay, let's copy this guy. Actually, we can just copy this whole thing, go in here, select all, delete, and just reverse this. I guess, oh no, but I'm doing something else there. Is it gonna be too much? That's way too much, okay. Maybe, how interesting. I was doing something else here then. No dust. Let's go back to what it was. Nope. Am I doing something different here? Not really, no. Okay. I wonder if I was even rendering this one. Okay, well, we can stick to this one. There's quite a wide of variety here. Okay, let's throw this on the side as well. We don't need it. The ground volume, we do need it. We baked it. Proxy, I can load this in. Hip, geo. This is the RBD land. Atmos volume, land wall here. Ground volume is this one, and it's loading its shader within the scene, right? From object map. And finally, we have the fog is calculating something, but it doesn't have to. I admit that. Let's delete this. So this is only one, or ground volume. Oh, this needs to be file merge. Okay, so let's undo this and let's explain. So I think it was a bit faster if I, well, it doesn't matter because we have 4 or 5 of them, right? So we can, once you simulate each one of these volumes for the ground, you just have to follow the same logic here, 0 to 5 or however many wedges you did for the ground, and it's like just pretty much copy paste. I don't need this because this was this. Why did we do this one? Okay, I'll keep this one. I'll explain that one. This one, these were for the lighting the buildings with the fire part of the volume. So that stays there because that is linked to volume light. But then I am doing the same thing here. I guess vol BLDG. Yes. Okay. So this comes here. We'll get here as well. This is for lighting the buildings from the fire, the temperature field. All right. Continuing from ground volume. Let's call this ground volume 0. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, as many wedges as you have. This is the land volume that's loaded. Yet again, we're going to need the RS proxy. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing here. We have this baked out. Redshift proxy. It's the volume fog. This one doesn't have the Redshift node, so you can add by clicking on the object params. It should load. Oh, there, down here. I got confused. Okay, it's here. Proxy. Let's enable the proxy. Let's find our Athmos volume right here, and let's tell it to use the object node material right here. I think this is now ready for a test render. Oh, the trees, yes. So we make the three point. We need to load the 3 points here, and we have 2 types of points. Okay, we have the ones that are deforming and ones that are following the simulation, the Santa simulation. So in our last scene, we were doing the trees which were in terrain on the right end here. So these would be our, well, we can actually bake this as a whole, and let's just do that. Probably that's easier. Oops, we crashed again. Okay, scene part 2. Let's hope this file is still healthy. Let's open it up, and I'm gonna get back to you once that scene loads again. Okay, this is now loaded. So I keep saying that we're gonna do the trees and I keep forgetting it. And now, so what I did is that I opened the last file before we switched to the render scene file. And I just want to do the trees in this section here, so we don't forget it again. Let's put this little box here. So what we need to do is, like I said, we need to create 2 tree types, right? One that is on the landscape, the other one is kind of like falling down. The idea was to simulate them with vellum, but then everything was super heavy, so I ended up with actually 1 geo, which is, I think, easier. So let's create a geometry here and maybe optimize it along the way a little bit better. So let's call it terrain trees. Let's dive inside. So what I want to bring in is that my animated geo, so an object merge, animated terrain, sorry, pin it, so we can pull it in from our terrain. So basically we're going down here. This will do. actually. This is the optimized one. This was unpacked, right? Yeah, so this should do. Let's go in here, back here. Okay, so we should have our geometry here. Now I'm just gonna hide everything else and load this guy back in. At this level, it's calculating something. It's calculating the destruction cleanup mode. So something is usually off with my viewport here, and I think it feels like it tells me that I need to switch, and then it works. All right, is it gonna do it in another frame? It doesn't. Okay, so let's go back to 1190, our focus frame. Okay, so now I want to stick points to this. I'm gonna time shift it and freeze this on this frame. Okay, it can be actually the first frame also, it makes no difference. Let's do the first frame. Okay, so I don't want to scatter points anywhere but this top area. So I can obviously scatter points on a grid and shoot them down, but there's I think a bit easier way to do it. I think it's a bit it makes more sense, which I'll do it that way. So this is frozen here, right? So I'm gonna clip this geo. I'm gonna say clip it to -40. Okay, so it should give me something like that. Then I'm going to put it delete SOP. I'm going to say delete primitives based on normal to -1. I think something like this should give me just stuff that is roughly pointing upwards. Then I'm going to use scatter and align, one of these new nodes. And if I plug this guy in, it's gonna do its thing. Maybe that's a bit too much for me. I'm saying min radius is 2, max radius is 4, and then I'm gonna say coverage is 2. That's way too much. Well, actually, I think the final result was a bit not enough, so maybe I'll go 0.3. Okay, then I'm going to create these attributes so I can stick them. I don't think I changed anything else, to be honest. Alignment, I kept this as it is. Did not change anything else. Yes. Attribute wrangle. So let me show you some of the 3 models that I had previously. I think they are under my, they should be under my Apocalypse. No, probably here. RS proxy, I have 3s, and I have BGOs out of those as well. Yes, and I have high res, low res ones. So let's go with the low res ones. Let's load them one by one, I guess. So I have some trees like this. Okay, quite optimized. They have pots and everything. And I'm gonna, give this with my folder. So what I do is that each one of these, we need to convert them to Redshift proxy, which we can do right now. So let's do something like this. The way I do it is a bit more simplistic. So as you guys can see, I'm loading version 0 now. Okay, and this one is called 3 small. I'm gonna make sure that this is good. So I'm gonna unpack this. Okay, and they have the trunk geo. They're even pointing to a shader, but I'm gonna delete that as well now. Attribute delete, so it doesn't look for a shader. If we have some values here, I think no, these are just random values. Texture UV, material shop pattern, I'm gonna remove. Okay, our map as well. I will give the BGOs as they are. I'm just making an optimized, very optimized shader free proxy. So how do I, so let's call this in 3, and this is out 3. We're gonna say now, let's call it 2rs. This we don't need to pass it through PDG. I think it's quite straightforward. We can say rs proxy, and I'm just gonna, oh, not this one, sorry, rs, maybe it was it, proxy output, yes, here. Let's put this guy here, let's go like this, and archive, I want this guy, and I want this under geo, I guess like this, right? So this could be, okay, let's quickly do something like, no, these are not the rs ones, rs, okay, and I'm just gonna rename this to $os, $os. So this one is, I'm gonna, this is the funny part. We're gonna go $f only. Okay, so it's gonna be like if it says 0, if you say do 0, it's gonna go, this is gonna be replaced by 0. So if I go delete here, I'm gonna go 0, and how many trees do I have in this folder? I have 0 to 10. Okay, so I'm gonna go 0 to 10, and in here, instead of 0, I'm gonna say $f. So every frame is going to load the new building, sorry, the new tree, and it's going to convert, and it's going to write it out as rs proxy under my Apocalypse Inferno folder. Render to disk. That should not be slow. Okay, we're getting a lot of crashes. It's very annoying. And it's not even this scene, it's a different scene. All right, now I had some points here, right? I want to give them an attribute called instance file. Okay, I think can we instance, I think we can instance, I don't think we need to convert these to proxies, to be honest. I'm not even sure. I think the BGOs are fine. Or we instance them then and write them as BGOs. We can try both because I'm not entirely sure. We'll have a look in the render scene. So now what I'm trying to do here is that I have the points, I have these BGOs here as well. So I want to take this path. I'm going to resolve this. So you guys need to put your full paths. Okay, I'm going to say, first I'm going to create a ID value based on point number, because this point number is not going to change. So I at ID equals fit random number based on point number, which is 0 to 1, to be fit to 0 to 11. Okay, close parentheses, semicolon. Now we can use this variable to replace this number, which we have trees for it in this folder structure, right here. Okay, so we can do this. So the BGOs will be in your Apocalypse Inferno trees folder, I guess. I think it's, maybe we should just do that now so I don't forget it later. I want to copy these guys to there. Let me get the folder. This is my folder. Okay, this is my folder, and this is the Inferno folder. So let's go geo maybe, and let's name them trees BGO. Okay, and these are the optimized ones. Copy, paste. All right. Now let's use this path instead in our recreated scene. Shoot, I made it wrong. Okay, slash So how does it work? We need to type something like it instance file. Okay, so we're gonna string named instance file, but we're gonna modify this string with a Rex function called sprintf. Okay, it's familiar to Python as well. I think they have printf, I'm not sure. And then basically before I close my parentheses, I close my string. My string is finished. Then I say this ID, use this ID which we created, right? Semicolon. And then inside my string I say here use that as a value to overwrite the attribute, which is then pointing to the BGO file based on this random ID file. So basically to replace that section with that number. Okay, now I can put an instance sub, not inflate, instance sub. I'm gonna say load as bounding box instance file. That should load me in the buildings. Okay, yes, they're loaded here, and that's pretty much it. So let's do this guy here. Okay, I don't need you anymore. So this was my just outside wall, right? Let's bring in the sim as well. The center area, which is going to come from terrain RBD. Okay, and let's bring this guy up here this time. And I think if we just merge it in, oh sorry, we did a mistake here. This is just this frame, this is the instance file. We still didn't deformat instance file. Okay, but I do want this to go in here as well. So that comes here. This is gonna load this specific frame for both of these. So while they're, I think, flat, yes, and they should be both unpacked. We'll cut the same thing. Delete. No, okay, so this is the problematic part here. I can remove the inside faces from here. Let's put a blast and let's remove all the inside faces, because the trees are just on the surface, right? Okay, go here, remove all the inside faces. Having luck. Maybe. Loading. Yeah, no. Okay, I have an idea. We'll have to adjust our workflow. Okay. Let's pull this guy up. I'm going to create a grid that is as big as this guy, 1000, 1000. Okay. Then I'm going to make sure that it's, let's load this one here. Then I'm going to make sure that this is high above this guy here, which is our simulation. Load our sim. Okay. Our grid is not high enough, right? So let's put it 50 meters high. Okay. And okay, maybe 60. Then let's just scatter nodes here. And let's make this slightly smaller. Maybe 950, 950. Now let's scatter some points. Now you know what? Let's shoot this down because we want to get we want to capture the normals as well. Let's go 500 by 500. Okay. and down. Let's do a ray swap. So this would be here. We're gonna say go shoot downward, and it will. Then we don't have to do any of this, and then we can do this, and we will have the points only on the top. Okay, easy peasy. And if I go here, I have my boxes. Now they won't move, obviously, like I said, because we're only doing this at the initial frame. So we need to do a little point deform. So let's put a point deform. That won't work. No, point deform will work. Okay. Attribute interpolate wouldn't work. We have the points here. We have the rest points here, and we have the animated deforming geo here. So if I plug this guy here, this should give me, no, this is not the animate, this one here. Now this should give me boxes following our entire moving pieces. Okay, which does. All right, cool. Okay, and I think this will be it for the terrain trees. I just don't know if this works with the Redshift proxies, if I can convert this to proxy, but we can render them like this as well. I think Redshift is pretty good with it. It does understand this instancing workflow as far as I'm concerned. Let's leave it like this. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to move this on the, I'm going to have another Houdini scene open, which this one is crashed. I have Houdini is crashing all the time. Let's save this. Basically, we need to take this network into our last render scene. Okay, so I'm going to open my render scene in another Houdini session, which is number 4. Ultimately, this is what you'll receive, the working version regardless. All right, so going to, how do we need to cache the moving points. Okay, so we just need to cache these guys. Easier said than done. Let's put a file cache, and I'm going to name these as usual, not like this. Let's go to simulations. Instance first. Let's use this one instead. I'm gonna pin this. There we go. These are our null goes here. Out 3 PTC. PPTC PTC. All right, this goes in here. This is the frame range, but we are now sticking to 1190. In this case, I'm just gonna run it. Well, I can actually take this name, that will work. We need to get this name. What is the name here? Instance first. Okay, that's fine. Which means now these are we just need, this is gonna keep the instance geo path, but it's gonna save it to disk, so we can only load those points, and they are already here. We just have to zoom in to load the geo. All right, where is my same guy here? Let me just bake this, cook it, and I'm just gonna have to check those things. This shouldn't take long. Okay, so let's move on to our render scene. This is where we left anyway. So what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna say trees only, or just forest, and we just need to load in we don't need any of this anymore. We made it better. Just need to bring it in with a file swap. In forest. I'm just going to resolve this, load it in here as soon as it's done. Well, not done yet, but it will be soon. And then I will just need to put a instance up, I think, under, and it should just work fine. Is this finished? It's finished. Let's go back here. Let's have a look again. The file is here. All good. Let's load it in. Let's put an instance up, and that should take care of that instancing pretty much. Let's go bounding box, instance file. All right. Let's go back here. Now, moment of truth, we're gonna do a render out. So what I'm doing here is pretty basic. I am rendering all the buildings and all the geometry by itself, and I'm shadow casting on them from all the volumes. Oh, there's one thing called Clouds Gobo. I have to show that one as well. Yes, that's actually a cool thing. Clouds Gobo is fairly similar, fairly simple thing. It's just a big grid which has a noise. Okay, and just a wrangle to remove some parts. And then I'm just blurring the edges so there are no hard edges, and that becomes your cloud gobo. You can use textures as well. I went this way. I have at -1000 I have a really big grid, so light doesn't come out from the bottom of the scene. If I think you cannot even see it when you look at it like that. And then the rest is just lighting, really. It's completely up to you guys. Let me see now if I can create we can just copy paste this guy. No, let's make a new one. Let's make a Redshift render. Oh, what happened? Things moved. Okay, well, how come? I don't know. Let's get this guy. This is the new one. This is the new one. Alright, let's go low. So let's pin this, and let's say I want to render my building. I want to render my volume. No, let's start from environment. We have RSLand and RSLand RBD. We put a camera, and we should render this. Let's open render view. Let's save this. Okay, this was I think from yesterday. Let's hit render and see what happens. Shot 1. My lights may be too strong, but we're gonna find out. Redshift float 1. Hit render. And immediately it goes into the render from without, because it's loading the proxies, right? So it doesn't care. Let's make sure that these are using the some gray renders. Ground shader, it's using the ground shader. It's a bit reflective. Let's load in the trees. Let's see what happens. Gotta make this a bit smaller. We don't need this anymore. This is part render scene part 2, just for the trees. Just gonna make sure it's saved properly. Let's open up some space. Okay. So where's our trees? These are 3. Let's bring in our 3. Let's see what happens when we do that. Hit render. Okay, our trees are here. That's nice. And it's picking up the shaders as well. And the shader is the leaf shader. Leaf shader here is using an ID to create, because I have IDs, right? And then it's picking up random values to give this nice, you know, color variation. Okay, let's load in our buildings now. Context, let's select our node, kill the render. Where is this one? Okay, so that's ID 0. Hit render. I think it's in this corner here. If it's the same. Yes, but I believe it is. Nice. We can now, I guess, load the volume. Let's re-render. Oh, we could have probably do the glass in advance. Okay, we have the volume. Let's put the glass as well. And we need to render the gobo as a phantom, so it casts shadows. Floor as a matte, I guess. No, phantom, so it blocks lights from under the land. We have the ground volume. Let's load that in. We have the building particles. Let's actually, you know, let's do this. Let's go one at a time. I'm gonna remove the volume and the ground volume. So it's ID. It's the building with the glass first. Let's pin this. Okay, it's loading. Initializing optics. Okay, so we have the glass pieces in. Let's load in some debris. Hit render. Waiting for it to initialize. Ray tracing hierarchy for meshes. Throw in some debris there. Okay, so we have some more debris now, and now let's load in, I guess, we have the glass, we have this volume, we have the forest. Let's load in the ground volume. Let's load in the building particles. Actually, I'll probably need to test their size, but this is probably okay because I already rendered this. Class gobo is there. All this is done. Let's load in our log as well. I'm not sure if we need to load in something light, but let's hit render and let's see. Okay, so the gobo is giving some nice cut shapes. Oh, we're missing the building volume. Let's put back the building volume. I think we can edit back, which was volume 0. Yeah, okay. Let's run it again. Well, to be honest, that's pretty much it. This is showing, I mean, we have the 6 buildings, but it's only showing 1 building with all the elements. The rest will be pretty much caching the secondaries for each building and creating the proxies based on what I showed, and that's it. The Inferno part of the tutorial is based on rendering the volume with a fiery shader, pretty much, because it's exactly the same mesh, same simulation. I guess we can have a look now as well. So if you want the fiery version of this, you would have to I think, where's the volume? This is the volume. Out volume, light, out volume. Okay, so if I load in the first building's volume here, which I need to load in from another folder, the BGO, I need to load in the BGO heap. So this is the Inferno Geo building column VDB, but it will load it. It needs to be somewhere here. Pyro Sim. We only have 1, but if you had the all. So if I now look at my viewport, basically this workflow is for merging all the volumes into one big volume, but right now I only have 1. Well, it's loading it, however, 12 times, so let me change that path properly, because right now I only have 1 cache, which is this. So I don't have to do any of this part, basically. This is for I was merging all these 12 volumes, as many volumes as I had for each building, into one volume. So what you do is, I'm blasting everything but density at this level, so it's gonna have only density. Here it's gonna have only flame, and here it's gonna have only temperature. And then I say, create me a VDB with a voxel size of 1. This is 1 meter. Then VDB combine, so flatten all A, set to maximum, will flatten all these densities into one density field. This will do the same. And then here you will have all volumes, separate volume containers merged into one container. Okay. So here I have, it's not loading. Why? Because it's trying to do the time shift. I'll do time shift. So I have a Pyro bake volume here. It's just that it's kind of adjusting the settings, I think. Let me see here. Then I am kind of deleting the temperature, adjusting the temperature. I'm making the temperature an ISO surface. So it's just a temperature field, right? And converting this to VDB. So these are my hot sources, basically. And I was kind of like blurring this, and this goes into my volume light. Okay, so the volume light here is importing a Pyro mesh, and it's bidirectional, and it doesn't render itself, and it's orangey. So this is kind of giving. Now if I look here, and if I actually turn this on, I'm gonna see this. And if I render this now with this, it's going to add some light. So let's do that first. Let's add this volume light into the mix. I think it's disabled, that's why it's not running. Oh, it's on. Maybe it needs to be stronger. Okay, we'll have a look at that one. Because on, it's enabled. I am rendering every light, or am I not? Yes, I'm rendering every light. So let's just try to render that one just to see if this is working. Alright, lights on. Oh, volume light. Yes, this guy. So let's just render this against the building. So I'm copying this just to make sure that I am. So I don't have to chase it after. So I just want the building. I only want my building. ID 0. Okay, hit render. Let's see if we're gonna get a little light around that geo. And if we do, then the volume light is working. Alright, it's working obviously. In fact, it's working a bit too strong maybe. Let's dial it down. Maybe dial it down more. Okay, now let's put the volume around it. Actually, you know what? Let's render this volume here. Volume. Instead. This may look a little too fiery now. We need to check actually if the... Yeah, well, this is the Inferno version regardless. So let's do one Inferno version render, one normal version render. So this one is gonna use blue orange sun. Nice light sun. No, I'm not using this one, I think. Let me check if I'm using only these lights. Okay, let's put all of this in. Where does it go? Here. Let's take these guys. I think this is everything I want to render. Anyway, here, not missing anything. Glass is there, ground is there, ID 0 is there, which is the building. RS land is there, RS land RBD is there. Wall 1. So I don't want this. Instead, I want the fiery version. And BLDG PRT, this is it. Accept, and we get our volume light as well, so it lights the environment. It would be probably cool if it was in a night scene. Let's hit render. While this is calculating, so and this has been a little challenging tutorial, to be fair, trying to move between continents and trying to get some work done at the same time. Oh, we're missing some volume here in this render now, but it was nevertheless a lot of fun because we copied this one. Okay, let me just, so it's not rendering the volume at the moment. Okay, have to cut my speech in half. Alright, let's go 3 maybe, and let's get this guy in there as well. And let's actually do a so I can turn that on, I can turn this on, and let's turn on the denoiser as well. This should be fine-ish. put a medium maybe. No, it's fine. We'll do a single frame anyway. We'll do a single frame, and if you do the half res, that should be okay. Our camera is full HD, I believe. Where's our camera? Yeah. Okay. Let's hit render again. All right. As I was saying, this was a huge fun project on top. Sometimes it makes me question if I really want to make these big tutorials, but I enjoy making them as well. While you know, it kind of feels like I'm shooting my own movie, my own teaser trailer. So again, the purpose of this tutorial is to give a very wide how to show how to get you guys prepared to tackle multiple different ways to do VFX in Houdini. So that's why we're solving some terrain problems, we are solving some procedural model generation, and we are solving how to tackle big scenes, and it kind of never ends, right? There's so many aspects. We're doing volumes, we are using a different render than Mantra, how to handle attributes, how to optimize scenes, how to use PDG extensively. So I hope at the end of the tutorial you have a much better understanding of how Houdini works inside out. The solvers are not explained in the tutorial greatly, because then this would have to be like a 60-hour tutorial, which is insane. But they do kind of give you an overall understanding of how they work, how they should work. So I hope this was helpful, and I can't wait you guys to mock up your scenes and render, and don't be put off with the amount of memory you have, because you know you do need the memory to create bigger scenes, but you can always create smaller scenes. Maybe instead of 200 floor buildings, you can do 50 floors and smaller chunks, and then just simulate them separately, and that should get you far enough, to be honest. And I really cannot wait to see the results. So thank you again for watching my tutorial. I'm very happy that it also finally came to an end, and this is not a very pretty render. I'll put myself on silent, and I'll probably do a single frame render and say, okay, this is the result, now just do all the buildings. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next tutorial, whatever that may be.